2020, 2019, 2021, but one of the developers have not implemented, executed on the research of my model, and or really notice as an intervention of meditusa to prizes, manifestation, meditations, mythology, and medusa. But we have not made use of our model at all. And that model is a manifestation of impersonification of ourselves, personification of fragments that we've developed throughout our lifetime to make do with the world. And so, I guess I can say presenting for the first time. Is there any just real quick visual? So at the very top left, my top right, you'll find that I can't actually display for a reason, probably because of Windows security operating Linux in a Mac security system preventing the display of, say, a PNG photo on app. I can't really use Photoshop to demonstrate that. So what I'm using now is just to explore the window to have it magnified on the size of extra large. And so what you can see on the side then is actually a description of the moment on my app, which currently we are using for some application. So as usual, those who are here present is a fantastic app, in my opinion, that at one point was free to use, even before Windows features. Now it's still to use features that were once freely available. You have to actually be, you actually have to be subscribed. And I don't know if that's actually, I'm not sure if I can actually hear, because I'm using a Bluetooth to record any audio for the live stream. So, with having said that, right, you can see above here on this end the various, just one screenshot of the model of the application, and that is our model just on the very top left, right there. It's funny because on stream the hair is glitching out and it's like spazzing all across the back whenever I make too large of a movement. So it shows that there's still editing work that I have not done in some time. I had it fixed, the hair, but now it's moving all over the place. Needless to say, I don't think we'll be putting too much emphasis on this for quite some time, because the bigger emphasis is just making sure that we can actually make use of this component or piece or fragment, this symbolic representation of ourselves. And to put a little bit more depth into it, we are an abstraction. This is something that we had decided when we were very, very early on into just when I was all the way down into more than 30 years ago, having grown up in an environment with depravity, debauchery, malice, vanity, hatred, and all sorts of things in my environment, whether in the household or on the streets, or at school. And there was danger everywhere. One of the solutions I had presented was to no longer be me, but to be many pieces of us, and be able to take on the role of a soldier, a monk, a mother, a father, an older sibling, a grandfather, a grandmother, whatever was necessary. But to go beyond that, to extend beyond into the world, into a certain state of consciousness that transcends, that goes beyond the limitations of the basic limitations and restrictions, even deficits, detrimental traits of humanity as a whole. I suppose you could say at the time I was unaware, but I was philosophizing and developing solutions that would delve into the human psyche, things of what many, 2 decades later I would come to realize was philosophy and analytical psychotherapy along the lines of Fyodor Dostoevsky, Carl Jung. I came to only realize many 2 decades afterwards that I was developing my own framework for understanding the world, which had already been developed by many apparent thinkers throughout the thousands of years. One of which, for example, was a codependent version of Stoicism, another for metaphysics, another for epistemology, another for consciousness and the self-awareness, another for the application, business application, relationship application, dynamics into causality and chaos and into our everyday, daily living routines. And so from that birthed many different fragments, some of which I have mentioned already, a role of a parental figure, a soldier, enlightenment from a monk, a motherly, fatherly figure. It transcends any sort of boundaries and limitations that traditionally would speak of biological limitations. And the goal was to rid ourselves of the most destructive and detrimental aspects of humanity, so that we could provide not just a proper role model for ourselves, because we didn't have one, and any that we had were violent and potentially catastrophic in an household setting. We didn't have a model. But then there were dependents, someone who I would consider to be my own son, figuratively, not literally, but, well, maybe literally, but, and so you had to parent yourself, even though biologically we're just a child, and then take on the role of a parent for another child. I simply couldn't allow for time to pass. I had to learn things on the spot, immediately, and I couldn't allow for myself to wait and develop and mature organically. I had to force the maturity to come to fruition as soon as possible. And the early stage at which you develop consciousness and self-awareness is roughly, for any biological human being, roughly about 3.5 years old. Which is, I didn't realize this a little bit, just more than a sub-series and sub-concept that we had developed several years ago of the 1,000 days till death. Well, 3 years is roughly about 1,200 days. So you could say that one develops consciousness in roughly the estimated amount of time that I had projected and incorporated into one of our old subseries of Project Zero. One of those fragments, long story short, is what you see on screen, is this, I should say that this model is actually a conglomerate aggregation of many features that came together in one particular form, because there are obviously 1,000 different influences and forms and components and pieces and fragments, pop culture references to media and film and stories and novels and experiences and anecdotes and networking and people, friends and family, acquaintances, historical figures, legends, champions. Everything goes into the deconstruction and the overall aggregation into the manifestation of our model. And I'm glad, to keep things light now, to end it on light now, I'm glad to say that there's actually some form, a physical form, well, I guess digital, not physical form, being manifested that I can show on screen over here. And that you can also see if you were to pop in over on Twitch. So, once again, so that's the main theme of this episode, is us, another form of us, among many different things. And that will allow us to deliver more niche and varied types of content, whether it be in the form of information or entertainment. This will be one form in which we access and engage with the world. Sorry to get all philosophical, it's like really fucking stupid. I don't know why I had to get that deep into it, but anyways, that's been our mottos. So we'll see you in the next one. I don't know why we have to go that deep into it. I wouldn't expect a lot of it improv, because I haven't really fleshed out what really needs to be said. It was just organic. I'm just relying on myself organically to say what can be said, to take up whatever was in the past that I haven't rehearsed in a very long time, that we haven't practiced in probably half a decade now. So this is nice. I'll see you in the next episode. And the next episode, by the way, will cover, for the record, I should mention that our live streams will be continuous between video recordings and episodes on podcast. They'll be recorded back to back on a single live stream. And then those live streams will have to figure out a regular time to do the recordings. Today, I was in the spur of the moment. I need to get it done because tomorrow there are certain things that I need to do, that require me to get the episode done today. Several episodes. So I'll see you in the next one. And the next episode will cover something that's very important, which is a degree that I'm taking lately that is consuming a lot of my time and energy, and we can talk about that next. And I'll see you there. Cheers. possession